All right, you're on live. Welcome to everyone tuning into today's show by whatever means computer, iPhone, iPad, Android, regular phone. All right, today's program is a special program leading up to the events of things coming in the weeks and months to come. One of the things, first, is going to be the anniversary for the Circle of Grace 1, which will be on Sunday, July the 2nd. It will be 18 years old. And also on the same date, Sunday, July the 2nd, will be my 43rd year doing and practicing the various principles and teachings I've learned and acquired and put together through the Circle of Grace 1. And those of you who may not know or who already know, on my late mother Grace's birthday, she was on the planet. She'd be 99 on Friday, August the 11th. There will be a special book release party on her 99th birthday for Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace. So all these events are rolling in, 3 special events. All right, before we start with today's special show, which was entitled A Special Spiritual Buffet, I thought about calling it a smorgasbord, but I chose to use one particular late famous individual, and that is the late Rev.Ike. So, through divine power and by divine grace, for all those who have an opportunity to hear the seeds of grace being placed forward in today's session, may you be blessed by all that you hear and can receive. Know that the energy behind the words is actually the seeds of grace itself. These seeds will enhance your life, bless the mind and the heart, and will also assist you in widening your own spiritual stance, elevating yourself in ways that are beyond your imagination. It helps clarify and increase your visions for yourself and clarify and understand your own dreams. So shall it be, and so it is. Amen to all. All right, so as I was stating, today is a spiritual buffet from the teachings of the late Rev.Ike, whose birthday, by the way, was on June the 1st. He was born under the sign of Gemini, and he was born in 1935, so that would give him 82 years if he was on the planet. But his teachings, which came out in the early 60s, right around 1962 or 63, his teachings began to reach many of us, especially my parents and relatives and many other people, that started reaching their kitchen table or their living room by way of his radio stations that he had up in Boston, Massachusetts, and also down in New York City. And then later, he had the opportunity to be the first spiritual minister to actually pack out standing room only, Madison Square Garden, around the late 60s, around 1966 or 68. And he actually had his first televised broadcast back then out of Madison Square Garden. So he really packed the house. And so this was something that was unique and special. Okay. And this was definitely an opportunity for him to receive all of these teachings and blessings. Now, also, at the same time, there were many other teachings being present, being there so other people could very well receive them. And this was his opportunity to help fulfill even many other great teachers that were present right there in New York City. So we're going to, one of those teachers was the late Norman Vincent Van Peele. He had a huge following also in the New York City area. And he taught also a lot of New Age principles using scriptures from the Bible. And the late Rev.Ike did the same thing, but he also used many other teachings. He studied the works of Neville Goddard and many others. So we're going to take something from chapter 4. It's from his book that has been revised numerous times. This is edition number 5. It's called Reverend Ike's Secrets for Health, Joy, and Prosperity for You. So I'll just kind of, for those who have a computer, this is what the book looks like. You can go to his website. Many of his followers are helping to spread his teachings out online. You can go on YouTube and just look up Rev, Rev.Ike, Ike, and you can go to YouTube and see some of the many videos that were captured over the years and have been placed there. And you can also go to his website, Rev.Ike.org, and you could purchase many of the CDs and MP3s, MP4s, DVDs of his material, as well as other books that he had written. So, meaning he was very dynamic in the way he dressed, the way he kind of approached the subject matter, and he just had a way that caused people to listen. So chapter 4 is called Create Your Own Garden of Eden. And he used the scripture from Galatians 6, chapter 6, verse 7 that says, whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Now, there are other people like the gentleman's name is Charles Allen. And Charles Allen, back in the 60s, 70s, he wrote a book called As a Man Thinketh, So Shall He Be. And then he wrote a book putting it the other way, As a Woman Thinketh, So Shall She. Based on these teaching is how you think is what you become. So in a Science of Living Principle book, he says only when you have a clear idea of what you want will you get it. Deciding what you want is the first step in creating it. So he said this is like very important. You want to see this. And the reason why he titles this chapter Create Your Own Garden of Eden, because he always thought of the mind as a theater, as a stage. And in the mind, you could plant your seeds, you could plant your images of what you are desiring to have in your own life. So if it was a home, you would plant all the images that you see in your home. If it was a car, if it was a promotion on your job, or maybe mind, the theater of your own mind, and you begin to plant clear-cut images. And the teacher that he kind of learned some of this from was the late Neville Goddard. And Neville Goddard's work says, live from the end, meaning the final picture, the end result is where you want to place all of your energy, all of your mental energy, all of your emotional energy, all of what your intention is to clarify it. And by doing that, you're not being disturbed by the various patterns of energy. Neville Goddard also says feeling, what you feel about it, how it feels to you, that's the energy you want to place in you. And Reverend Ike learned that too through those teachings. He used to call it the feeling gets the blessing. So if you feel good about yourself, you'll be blessed with goodness. If you feel through a difficult health period, you will actually help the body speed up the healing process. So he even pulled out a biblical scripture. He would say, let the weak say, I am strong. So if you are not feeling well physically, maybe you might have a cold or something, as you go through the process of releasing toxins and doing all the things you need to get the toxins out of your system and help restore your health, say to yourself, even though you're not really feeling it, you're not seeing it physically outside of yourself yet, stronger. I feel the body doing this. I feel more and more and more. And then what happens is the body also begins to remember, and it begins to search, like in the subconscious, it begins to search for positive, successful images when you were healthy. And the same is in this concept, creating your own Garden of Eden. So he says you want to have this perfect image of yourself, the most perfect image that you could have. That's very important. And then you have to believe that the image that you're looking at really exists. So, 20 years ago, we always used the word manifestation. We're going to manifest, we're going to turn it into a reality. And now that we're in this time, this millennium from 2000 to 2999, the angel of grace presented to me, well, a manifestation turns into a materialization, because the manifestation is already in the ethers. It's already in existence. Okay, it's one of the various planes of awareness, consciousness, reality, super reality. It's already in the multi-universe, parallel universe. Is already happening in a particular field. So to materialize it, when we look at the word material and materialization, we see the Latin word mater, and mater means mother. So mother is the womb of the universe. So in order to manifest this idea, you have to know that it already is in existence in the womb of the universe, in the womb of your own consciousness, in your subconscious area of your mind. And then once you realize and believe that it is there, then by drawing on the existence of it already fully matured in your life. And so this is how you allow yourself to receive greater blessings. Now, in his teachings here, he says, once you start to believe this, believe yourself, see yourself, start to give yourself credit for your own success, then you are able to make the dream become a reality. He says you want to plant the seeds of self-discovery. So I'm going to read exactly now from this chapter 4 on page 31. He says, plant the seeds of self-discovery. And it's reading it as the late Rev.Ike reading it to you. I want each of you to understand that you can create your own Garden of Eden, because Garden of Eden is just a useful term for the positive things you want to achieve or acquire. Your Garden of Eden is whatever makes you healthy, happy, loving, successful, and prosperous. Think about it right now. Are you visualizing successful and prosperous experiences? That's your Garden of Eden. Are you visualizing freedom from sickness? Then that's your Garden of Eden. Are you visualizing a big house or a new car? Then that's your idea of the Garden of Eden. Your, and capitalizes every letter in the word your, Garden of Eden is whatever fixed idea you have in your mind. And it can be whatever you want it to be. He says your Garden of Eden is whatever positive things you want to achieve or acquire. He further says you can start your own Garden of Eden, but first you have to decide what you want in your garden. You have to figure what seeds to plant to make what you want grow. Then you have to plant those seeds and nurture them until they bloom into what you want. But this all starts with a decision, the decision to know yourself, the decision to know what you want to be, to do, and to have. And as you travel the path of self-discovery, you will learn many things about yourself. And what you want out of life is one of them. So he says it's sort of like building a greenhouse. The seeds are self-discovery, and you cause them to grow and flourish in your own Garden of Eden, in your own mind. But, when you have a garden, you have to take care of everything in the garden. You have to water it. You have to nurture it. Okay, so your ideas, you have to give it 100% attention. Place your intent into it. Intent like attention. Attention means toward, creating tension towards you. So he says, now, nobody else is going to nurture your ideas for you. You have to do it for yourself. So this is important. If the greenhouse is your reality, is the base of what you call your reality, is what you are considering to have, as he says, to be, do, and have. So if we were to create this like a meditation, could you very well see yourself in the meditation, like he says, the theater of your mind? Could you see yourself coming into a theater? Let's use that concept. Walking into a movie theater, seeing the various people, and know that the various people in this vision that you're creating, in this meditation, are various ideas that you have. Everybody you see, from the person that takes your ticket, person that you hand your money to, that's your subconscious self. You're putting your energy into your ticket. Your subconscious mind is the usher that allows you to guide you into the theater, and you're able to begin to take your seat, and there's a fresh screen in front of you. And as the movie of your mind begins, you begin to see all of the thoughts, all of the specific thoughts and very clear thoughts, and all the colors in the theater and the colors in the movie around the ideas, and with the ideas, they become your feelings. And the more that you see the images clearly, the more excited you become. And now you're not viewing just the beginning of the movie, not just the middle of the movie where it ends great for you. That's the part that he's talking about. He's saying to us to hold on, hold fast to the outcome. Place all of your attention on the outcome. Actually see yourself in the outcome. See yourself with it all. See yourself having the beauty of it all. See yourself tasting it, feeling it, inhaling it, resting in it, moving around in it. And the more that you practice this, the more you make it real to yourself, the more you believe it's yours, the more you feel that it's yours, the more you are realizing that it is you that's has drawn this to yourself. And that the most important thing beyond that is that you deserve it. So you know you deserve it, therefore you can receive it. Therefore you pat yourself on the back, you thank the universe, you in you, the verse, the song, the words that the universe, greater universe placed in you the with the people in it and created unconditional energy, not just conditional energy, but unconditional energy, so that everything that happens to you happens freely. You are attracting exactly what you are feeling and seeing, and therefore expecting. So if you can only expect the best, he's often said in his teachings, if you could look in the mirror at yourself, you see the reflection of yourself. Therefore, you see the reflection looking back, gazing upon you. That's almost like the children's book, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all? You know, you're seeing yourself, and yourself, you want to treat the reflection of yourself in the mirror like your higher self. Your higher self is speaking back to you. Your higher self is showing you prosperous, taller, whatever, you know, but the higher self, which is your soul, the God in you, is letting you know that the possibilities are infinite. Even Michael Beckwith speaks of it like that, infinite possibilities. With knowing that there are infinite possibilities, then nothing is impossible. Impossible really is not negative. Think of it as I'm possible. I possess, I have the ability really out of my reach. It's not really impossible. M is not to be, shouldn't be looked at in your mind that it can't happen. M is like I apostrophe M space or hyphen possible. And then to know that I'm is a contraction of I am. And as late Rev.Ike says in his teachings, I am principle. I am principle is the nature of God in you. So I am, which is God in you, makes all things possible. So therefore, it is possible. So you want to create your mind like a theater, like the Garden of Eden, and then you begin to plant the seeds, clear images, deep. Then it then drips like water out of a faucet into your subconscious. Your subconscious is a reflection of the universe outside yourself. And you begin to experience this holy, WHOLLY. And when you experience something holy in itself, that is another way of saying that you are mindfully receiving. Mindfully receiving. That means your mind is clear enough to receive and capture anything that is of a divine nature. If something is of a divine nature, it is embedded in your subconscious, which is the reflective vault of the universal consciousness and the universal heart, the universal magnetism within you, the energy of God that has every possible experience imaginable, every possible experience from lifetime to lifetime across constellations and galaxies. So it's almost like we have to tell ourselves that we have done this before. We have had this leap of faith before, and we landed. When we landed in prosperity, we landed in better health, we landed in happiness, we landed in joy, we landed in celebration, we landed in our concept of divinity, about who we are. We landed in our angelic presence. We landed in a place, in a special place where you're able to bless others. You land in a special place where you can build. You land where you can rebuild. You land where you can anchor yourself. You land when you become the anchor. You land, you create a space for others. You land, you become a space holder for others. You land. L, capital L, is what? It is a right angle, 90 degrees. That means you're standing erect 90 degrees to the earth. And you're creating this, and you're in motion. The letter L means you're extremely magnetic, and you're going to allow the magnetism within you begin to draw all things that are positive to you, so that you can have nothing less than a better time. You'll always have. Let's pull another chapter here in the teachings of the late Rev.Ike, because after all, this is a special spiritual buffet. And in a buffet, there are many things that you are able to dine on, okay? So you're going to dine on another part of his teachings, another part of expecting. I want to use a story here that he wrote about, and I've actually shared this story with people, and this is great story. It's called, it comes from the chapter, The Thrill of It All, which is chapter 10, The Thrill of It All. And let me set this up with a science of living principle. He says, when you speak in faith, when you speak in love, when you speak in the spirit, the words you speak become the word of God that goes forth out of your mouth to accomplish that which you have spoken. In the scriptures, it says, write the vision and make it plain. Write the vision and make it plain. He said, when this is done, it comes to you. It has to come to you. So here's a story, and this is really a thing that happened in his own life, but he calls it here the story of the blue shoes. He said he wanted some dark blue shoes, so he decided. He lived in California. He says, I went to a particular shoe store and I spoke to the manager whom I know. I said, I want a pair of blue shoes. I don't want any high heels or high platforms. As I looked around, the only blue ones I saw had very high heels, and I was afraid I might fall off of those. I told him I wanted regular heels and soles. He had quite a conversation with his salesman to establish whether or not they had those blue shoes. And then they turned to me and said, we don't have any of them. So he says, we don't have any of them. So as he received that, the manager went back to helping another gentleman that he was waiting on before I came into the store. Then inside of 1 minute, he went into the stock room and brought out a pair of blue shoes for the other gentleman. Now he says in brackets, watch this now. You don't have to believe it because my intellect doesn't either. I said to him, how is it that you told me you didn't have any blue shoes like I wanted? Those you have there are blue shoes. He looked at the shoes he had in his hand and said, I never saw those shoes before. I said, bring them over here. He brought them over, and guess what? They were exactly my size. He called the clerk over, and they both swore they never saw those shoes before. And they walked in and out of the stockroom at least 100 times a day. So he says here, and I had to put a star, he says, the more you become aware of the power of your mind, the power of your word, the more you will demonstrate it. Now that's unique. He says there are several things about this incident which really astounded him, Reverend Ike. Number one, the manager picked up those shoes within 1 minute after I asked for them, and just after he got through explaining he didn't have them. Both the salesman and the manager established that they didn't have them. Number two, they were exactly my size and exactly what I wanted. In the third place, they did not know what to charge me for the shoes because they had never seen them before. They had to make a price. I had made the shoes with my word, so I bought them. All of that is too much to be a coincidence. And here's another thing. This is Reverend Ike still speaking. They went back, and so I said to him, you send me my commission for the rest of those shoes because I spoke them into existence. Now, he was just basically joking when he said that. So he says, the more you are aware, the more you will demonstrate. He says, this is not a first time kind of thing that happened to me because he's accustomed to doing it all the time. So what he is saying is when you grow accustomed to calling out something, to speaking something into existence, that which appeared to be so miraculous, that which appeared to be at that moment extraordinary becomes simply ordinary. And that which was ordinary becomes simply extraordinary. He says the more you become aware of the power of your mind, And he also says, be choosy. I'm going to use the phrase, be picky. Be picky about something that you want. Now, we've seen people many times. Sometimes a lot of people do it because of ego. You know, people in restaurants, sometimes they get very surly and they kind of look down at a waiter or waitress because the cook didn't prepare the food properly or to their liking. And sometimes, or they think the waiter or waitress can't get to them, so they start looking down at the person. And therefore, they being really snooty and choosy and making the person work extra hard, having a bad day, you know, or maybe something at home is bothering them and they really can't be as focused. So you want to be choosy. Choosy in this sense, choose your words carefully. Choose your words carefully. I remember in a teaching that I was studying back in the 1980s, and it was through the Rosicrucians. And they were speaking about a person who always was really in the back of their mind wanted to drive a Mercedes. And this person always wanted to have a Mercedes. They almost salivated every time they saw somebody driving past them with a Mercedes. But the person was never courageous enough to ask and speak it into their own life. So rather than the person going to Mercedes dealer, car dealership, and at least looking at the Mercedes, at least touching the Mercedes, smelling the leather of the Mercedes, getting inside and sitting in a Mercedes, they always wound up going down the block to see something less. And in essence, they saw more of the used cars and then something that their heart and mind that was kind of so. The story that the Rosicrucian organization had put together was one day this man transitioned. And when he transitioned, he had a chance to meet up with the consciousness, the spirit of God. And he also met with one of the angels. And God had the angel show him the storehouse, the universal storehouse of everything that everyone has ever asked for in their life. Every thought created this storehouse, all the rooms, all the items, storehouse of God's consciousness, God's own Garden of Eden in the universe, throughout the universe. And they went past this room, and this gentleman in his spirit form, in his essence of the soul, looked toward the angel and said, well, what's in that room? And the angel said, oh, I'm glad you asked. The angel took him into the room. And this soul energy realized that there are many things in there that looked very much like the things he asked for while he was in an earthly form. He saw books, he saw wardrobes, he saw pictures of homes and land. He saw people that he always wanted to meet, pictures of people. As they walked a little further in this room, which was so expansive, they got to a point where they saw this car. This car was a Mercedes-Benz. Exact likeness, color, right down to the wheels, the style, the leather, the color, exactly what he always wanted. And of course, the angel's looking at him, and he turns and he looks at the angel, and he says, I've always wanted a Mercedes-Benz. How come when I prayed for it, God never gave it to me? And the angel looked at him with a light smile and says, because you didn't believe that you could receive it. And so therefore, everything that you ever got in your life was beneath the Mercedes-Benz. You kept expecting that you weren't able to receive it, that you weren't deserving enough to receive it, and therefore you started making lower comparison than the Mercedes. And you start getting comfortable with things that had a lower value than the Mercedes, and therefore you began to attract. And even the man, the soul said, yeah, I always seemed to always wound up with lemons all the time, cars falling apart on me. He said, because that was what you thought you deserved. So this Mercedes in the storehouse of God's own divinity, God's own consciousness, remained here. See, it manifested itself through this man's heart, but he was unable to materialize it into his life because deep down inside, he felt that he really wasn't deserving of it. So it is the same thing that Rev.Ike is speaking of. You have to speak of prayer treatments that help you speak it into existence. He says, I now enter the secret closet of my mind, and I look upon the stage of my imagination. So kind of, when we say that this is an affirmative treatment, treat is just what it says, to treat, to give yourself something. MENT, the suffix means you're planning the treat in your mind. And it's an affirmative treat for your mind because you're giving it the power to go deeply into the soil of your own consciousness. He says, I see myself, another treatment, I see myself being what I want to be, doing what I want to do, and having what I want to have. I see myself as a healthy person. I see and feel the health and strength of God flowing in my soul, mind, and body. I see myself as a happy person. I take happiness wherever I go, and I spread joy wherever I go. I see myself loving and being loved in divine order. Now, it's interesting, he places divine order in here because you can have an order. You can order your life. You can command it. You can drive up to the window and ask for what you want. But is it a part of your divine plan? And sometimes you might be asking for something that is not in your divine plan. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to have it. But what we're saying here is first go in to yourself so you could see the divine plan. Because if you can see the divine blueprint, now if you ask for something that is not there, it's going to fall into the pattern of your divinity and therefore come to you in different ways. He says, I see myself as a successful, prosperous person. I have money, but money does not have me, meaning you're not enslaved by it. I see green all around me. Thank you, God, in me. So what he is saying is, when you speak these words, you're demonstrating the power of the mind. The mind can catch things. The mind should be like a chalice. It should be like a cup. It should be like a huge vat without a lid. It should overflow. That's what the phrase is, my cup runneth over. The cup doesn't have a lid, so whatever you keep pouring into it, eventually it pushes all the air out, right? And it just keeps pushing itself out like a fountain. He says, what should your word always do? We just said your word should define clearly exactly what you want and give directly as you make it clear. So that means just like an artist paints a picture on a canvas. They just don't paint any picture. They just don't choose any color, even if it's an abstract painting. Something that's abstract means it's taken from that which is already true, extract the truth, and now reinterpret it onto the canvas. The same with a musician. The musician can cause you to feel the rhythm because the musician has placed his or her own rhythm, his or her own feeling, and his or her own interpretation of every note, every chord, every cadence within the structure, which are the bars and spaces between the vertical lines which create the staff and the measure, to a point where you are now participating in that music with the composer, with the band. So the whole idea is to, as they say, write the vision and make it plain. So when you're writing a vision, that means you have this opportunity to do what? When you write the vision, you have the opportunity to keep changing it until it feels right to you. When you can keep changing it and it feels right to you, then what? You begin to wear the energy. You begin to wear the energy just like a suit, a dress, a blouse, a sports jacket, pajamas, robe. You begin to wear it. It feels comfortable. It feels like you. If it feels like you, it has to be you. I'll say that again. If it feels like you, it has to be you. So let's create a vision. I want you to feel it. Feel it. They say feel it down into your bones. Feel it into the bone marrow. Feel it in the nerves. Feel it into the bloodstream. Feel it in the cells in the blood. Feel it in the blood vessels. Feel it in your muscles. Feel it in your skin. Feel it in your brain. Feel it in your eyes, your ears. The canvas. The canvas is on the inside of you first. The canvas, which is on the inside of you first, begins to what? Flourish. It begins to blossom. It begins to open up infinite possibilities, infinite spaces. Now you select the colors, the medium. You begin to collect the energy. You begin to paint this new image of yourself. Vibrant energy, vibrant colors mean vibrant health. Vibrant, your vital organs are alive, teeming with energy. Your eyes are absolutely clear. Your taste buds can taste anything. Every variation of salt and sweetness is in your tongue. You can taste it. Your ears can hear variations of rhythms and percussive sounds and sweet instruments and violins and flutes and saxophones. Your mind begins to create the image that the music is portraying and painting to you. You enliven the energy with your feelings. You begin to soak yourself, just like you're sitting in a bathtub with bubbles. And everything in that water is you. Every thought teeming is you. Every infinite possibility is you. Everything is smooth. It's you. The energy is you. You know, it's being fulfilled because you're mindful. You're 100% aware and in the moment that it is happening everywhere right now. If there are infinite possibilities, that means what you are striving to have is happening here, there, meaning around you, everywhere. That means every place you go to feels just like you. Every person you meet, Rev.Ike says, is an extension of you. He says you're just meeting yourself. The more you love yourself, the more you will meet loving people. The more you take care of yourself, the more caretakers you shall meet, who shall have the same or similar vision that you have, similar imagination that you have. Your body tingles. The hair stands upon your skin. The electrical charges running through your body and along your skin. Your body is jumping for joy just like you. Your body is expecting it just like the mind is expecting it. The body feels it just as you feel it. You see yourself arriving. The body has arrived with you at the same time. Nothing showed up late. Everything on time. Write the vision. Make it plain. In other words, be direct. Be direct first, because that is the seed of directness. And when you're being direct first, then the seed has to show up. Allow yourself to show up. Showing upward energy. Take this moment now and see all is well. Holy, divine order. See the violet flame of transmutation transforming everything. See the violet flame transcend so that you can ascend. And as you ascend, you are also transcending, meaning breaking free of all limitations, liberating the soul to achieve that and more for your highest good and the highest good of all. As we close the show out today, you have already arrived. You have already received, and you're doing even more. Your soul is infinite. Your heart is forever expanding, the heart chakra. The crown chakra is forever expanding. Every part of you is forever expanding. No more limitations in any form. Loving yourself first, making yourself first. Because even if you make God first, God is in you first. And as you flow with that, let me give you some contact information. If you'd like to be in touch with me, you can simply Skype me through a call, 505-349-4722. You can email me at iam.circleofgrace1@gmail.com or iam.circleofgrace1 at yahoo.com. You can always go to my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com, /USER, /Circle of Grace with a number 1 at the end. See you here next week, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, or 4 Pacific, for another Circle of Grace 1 live with myself, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. See you next week. Be good to yourself. Be prosperous and healthy, happy. Remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. Thank you for joining me.